Hello my little lovebirds, TonyaTko here. And yesterday I made a video which was not only hard to make, but it was hard to listen to for some people. And the reason why I made the video and the reason why I'm making this video is to open up your eyes and make you aware of what is happening out here and how real these numbers are. Let's talk about this. Okay. When I made the video yesterday about rape and rape statistics, I came at it from a different angle because most of the videos that address rape address the victim. And I want us all to be aware that for every victim, there's an assailant. And I just want us to think about this. If 1 in 6 women will be raped or have been raped, that means if you know 6 women, 1 of them has been raped. If you know 12 women, statistically speaking, 2 of them have been raped. And it goes on and on from there, the more people you know. So when we're walking down the street, when we are amongst our family members, because you know what, I got into, I did the video, I think it was 7 things to look for in a good woman. And in the video, on the comments, I'd gotten into, a back and forth discussion with a guy who said, I'm not going to deal with any woman who's been raped. That's just too much, psychological trauma for him to have to deal with. But part of the problem is that statistically speaking, if you date, and not only if you date, but if you're a member of a family, somebody in your family is a victim of sexual assault or rape. Sexual assault, molestation, rape, and there's just okay. I want to stay on topic, but there's just so many different things to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say what I came here to say first. Everything else I'll talk about afterwards. Let's talk about this. 1 in 6 women has been sexually assaulted in her life, has been raped, either by statutory rape, molestation, or forceful rape, date rape. The numbers are, and then the worst part about it is that 90% of the rapes are not sent to court, are not reported, rather. But rather than looking at the victim, because we see the face of the victim when they come forward, I'm a victim of rape, etc., etc., we see the face of the victim. But what we don't do is we don't look at the face of the assailant. Because for every little girl that's laying in the bed at night and some grown man crawls into the bed with her, there's a grown man crawling into the bed with a little girl. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I personally don't care if you don't like my tone, because I don't have to speak nicely to a rapist. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't have to talk sweet and nice. And there were some people who came out to my video talking about they didn't like the way I was talking because I seemed like a man hater. No, honey, I'm a rapist hater. And each and every one of us here should be sickened by rapists too. Let's talk about it. Because you know what, there's a lot of sexual misconception and a lot of sexual dysfunctional ideas that go around in our society. There's so much to talk about. Let me talk about what I came here to say first. I want you to look around. Not only look around and see whether or not 1 in 6 of the women that you know has been raped, but I want you to look around at some of the men in your family too, because among some of the men in your family are rapists. Let me let that sink in for a little while. Some of the men in your family are rapists. Look around at your uncles, your cousins, your friends, your brothers, your father. According to a study that was done, I got this information from the same study used by the Department of Justice, or the Bureau of Justice. I'll put the link below. 1 in 12 men has admitted to raping a woman. 1 in 12. So I want you to look around, and I want you to be very cognizant of not just talking to your daughters, oh, don't get raped. But look around, because there's an imbalance going on where we talk to the victim, don't get raped, but we're not saying on the other hand, don't rape. Look at some of the people that you're letting into your home. Look at some of them. You know what? I want to take a brief moment out right now to talk about molestation. Ladies, you know, there's a startling statistic about the number of broken homes existent in our present day community. Okay. And we know that we have to date, ladies, even though we have children. But I want some of you ladies to be very cognizant, because I get contacted by a lot of people and they have a lot of things that they want to talk to me about. And unfortunately, some of the things that they talk to me about are, oh, I let this man into my home. I didn't know that he was molesting my daughter. Look, honey, be cognizant. Everybody out there is not a good person. Be aware. All I'm saying is be aware. Have these conversations. You got an uncle staying with you in your home, okay? Have you spoken to your daughter about not letting anybody touch her? But have you brought up the uncomfortable conversation with the uncle staying in your home about how it's appropriate for him to keep his hands and his penis to himself? Have you had that conversation? You know, because it's an uncomfortable conversation, and one would think this is common knowledge, common information. Keep your penis out my daughter. But are we having these conversations? Are we looking around? Are we keeping our eyes open and our ears peeled? And then, are we making sure that there are lines of communication that can be open between our daughters and us? Are we keeping those lines open? And you know what? Unfortunately, there are a number of women out there. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. There are a number of women out there who get told by their daughters that their boyfriend or the man that they newly married touched them inappropriately. And ladies, what do we do with that information? Do we blame the daughter? Do we say, what did you do to seduce my man? Do we say, oh, keep this on the hush? What do we do? Do we kick him out? Do we question him? And he says, I don't know why she's lying on me. And then so now you have to be put in a position between whether or not to believe your mate or your daughter. Let me just explain this to you. Less than 2% of reported rapes are proven to be false accusations. So the majority of, it's very difficult for a young lady to come out who has been raped or molested. So once you get this information, what do you do with that information? That's one thing that I wanted to talk about. I'd also like to talk about the sexual dysfunction that exists between the thoughts that we have about a woman who is sexually active. You know, I was you know, it's there's just so many different things that I come into contact with, and this is such a long conversation to have. People make it seem that, you know what, and as women, we are, you know, there's just so much. God, as women, we are not in ownership of our own bodies and of our own sexuality, even in this day and age. And I can only hope that from conversations like that we start from this one, that there will come a day where we as women will be able to own our sexuality without it being communal or the business of the people, so that they make judgments and assessments about who we are based on our taste and our preferences, or what it is that we like as women, or what it is that we choose to do of sound mind and body with our bodies. You know, where if a woman enjoys sex, you know, so much going on around the world where women are not supposed to enjoy sex, that a woman is supposed to put up a struggle. Some of these things are cultural. You know, somebody talked about hentai, you know, in the Japanese community, and unfortunately, it's It's a known part of the culture that a woman is not supposed to be, you know, she's supposed to be so demure and so, ooh, and there's just a certain amount of resistance that she's supposed to put in. Otherwise, she's thought of as a certain way, loose or whatnot. And I'm saying we have to change these ideas. We have to change these thoughts, you know, because for every man who's having sex with a woman, or rather for every woman who's having sex with a man, there's a man having sex with her too, you know. And so, you know, this whole idea of rape, this whole thing about rape, you know, where we have this dysfunctional attitude. Where I was reading this study where they were talking about the attitude of a kidnapper, a person who kidnaps a person. They believe that after a while, you know, the person whom they kidnapped is going to come around and eventually, you know, like them. Right? And unfortunately, this is the mentality of many a rapist, that they feel that, oh, if they just get it inside, that, you know, she's gonna like it. But, you know, we have to change our ideas. We have to change our views about sex and what sex means to us, and what the purpose of sex is, and how sex should take place. You know, whether or not there's something wrong with a woman who likes sex. Should she be disrespected, be called a slut because she likes it? But, you know, they're just weird. You know what? It's unfortunate because this conversation is a long conversation to have, and it has really no beginning and really no end, because in the Bible there are talks of concubines, and there are talks of, you know, men who took women and all of this other stuff, and it's unbelievable. I was reading this thing earlier today, and I wanted to give a special shout out to a person by the name of Life's Death, who comments on my videos very poignantly. He doesn't always have to agree with me, but the information that he provides is logical and coherent, and he provides, you know, rationale for his post. So, you know, this is something that I can appreciate. And he gave me a link earlier today that I was looking at, and I found some of it really disturbing. He was talking about you know, the history of rape, etc., and how in biblical days, you know, if a person had raped the man's daughter, you know, that was considered an offense against, you know, the father or the husband, where the raper or the rapist would have to pay a penalty, you know, or a fine to the father or the husband for raping his woman, you know, like she was a piece of property. In other instances, the man was forced to marry the woman and take care of her for the rest of his life. So, I mean, on the one hand, they're punishing the man by having to marry this woman, but they are forcing a woman to marry her rapist. And it's like, we're not putting two and two together. This is not a good solution for the woman who's been raped. She has to lay with her rapist now every night because she made the mistake of being raped by him. You know, so it's like they're just so many issues and just so many problems, you know, especially where people look at, you know, the presentation of a woman and say, oh, well, you know, she was asking for it. You know, oh, you dress like that, you're going to get raped. You know, so that a woman has to lay arrested by other people's points of views of how it is that she should or should not dress, instead of saying, you know what, no one should be raping you. The thing that I read from the Department of Justice, and I'll put the link below so that you can look at it, when people, less than 2% of rapes that are reported are fraudulent. 98% of the very few that come forward, there are very few that come forward, but 98% of them are legitimate. But people are constantly trying to disprove rape, trying to see what it is that the victim did to bring it on herself. And then in this same thing from the Bureau of Justice, it was talking about, you know, how in terms of theft, how there are far more people who create fraudulent theft reports so that they could get insurance claims or whatnot. But when a person has something stolen, the same scrutiny is not placed upon the person who had something stolen from him. For example, somebody steals your car. How many people come by and say, oh, you shouldn't have had it painted that color. Nobody would have stolen it. That's what you get, what you deserve. People come by, oh, if you didn't have those rims on there, nobody would have stolen it. You know, or if someone breaks into your house, how many of us say, oh, if you didn't have those expensive insulated windows, oh, no one would have stolen. Oh, do we do that? But unfortunately, we look at in cases of rape where a woman is violated, we look at the woman and say, oh, well, what have you done to bring this on yourself? Have you had sex in the past? Because goodness forbid, she couldn't have ever had sex in the past consensually, because once she has consensual sex, then at that point, all bets are off. You know that, you know what, this conversation can go so far, because I had an argument with someone on Facebook months ago about prostitutes, because they were like, oh, they're prostitutes or they're strippers, so it doesn't matter if they get raped, because, and I'm like, do you hear the mentality? So like, if I have a yard sale and I put a toaster out there and people are like, oh, you shouldn't be selling your toaster, that's your toaster, I'm gonna steal it, or I'm gonna break your toaster because you're selling it. You know, it's like, we have to, oh God, we have to govern ourselves. And I wish, you know how Martin Luther King used to wish for a day that black people could be free? As a woman, I wish for the day. I wish for the day that women can be free, that we can rise above or escape from this societal imprisonment of our own sexuality, so that there's this, not double entendre, because double entendre speaks of, it's an English term, but on the one, I can't think of what it's called. Somebody, you guys out there are so smart, help me out below. Where I can't think of what it's called, but on the one hand, we're teaching girls, oh, the worst thing you can do is have sex. But then we're teaching men, on the other hand, to get as much sex as they can. So then who is it that they're going to have sex with? And then there creates this animosity, this hatred between the two, so that, remember the video I did the other day talking about the war on sex, talking about men who are telling these lies to women in order to get them to have sex, like this poor girl with 2 children left, and now this guy is feeding her this game, trying to get inside her pants. And I'm like, on the one hand, we're like, don't let anybody in, don't let anybody in, and we're like, get in as much as you want, get in as much as you can, you better get it, better get it, better get it. That's your success as a person. And her success is, as a person, is never letting anybody in. She can't let her guard down. She can't trust anybody. And then we're like, oh, what, you're so bitter. Oh, you're a loser if you can't get in. She's bitter if she doesn't let anybody in. He's a loser if he can't get in. This is dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional, because then it creates this hatred and this animosity between men and women, so that the man is like, oh, you know, you'll be surprised. Listen, I was a young girl once, and I'm glad that the game has simmered down. But people will be like, men will be like, they love you, you're so precious to them, and all this other stuff, telling you lies. I'm not married. Oh, my home is under construction, so I can't invite you over. Just telling lies. My fiance, look, you know what? I'm going to tell you guys, let me take a quick segue. I'm going to tell you guys how I got tricked by a married man once. I was in my 20s. He told me that his fiance died. And because his fiance died, before he invites another woman over to his home, he just wants to make sure that they're in a serious relationship. I had his phone number, used to call him at night right before he went to sleep. Little did I know the phone number that I had was really a fax number, which rang through a line. Remember when they had the old facsimiles with the thing? Meanwhile, he's lying to me, and I'm young. He was in his 30s. I didn't understand the game. I was like, oh, his fiance died. I can come over to his house. Right? Meanwhile, they're like, on this hand, they're like, oh, shouldn't have been so stupid to fall for the game. Instead of being like, why are you even gaming like that? You know, this is an act of hatred. You know, it's like, so that instead of persecuting the liar, you're persecuting the person for being so stupid as to believe their lies, or quote unquote stupid to believe their lies. You're persecuting a person for their innocence and naivete, when that is the very thing that you like about them, because that stupidness, that naivete, say is what's going to let you in the first place. So it's like we have this dysfunctional, imbalanced view of sex, and we have to open up conversations like this so that we can talk about some of these things and get it out in the open. You know, because for every girl out there who's held down in her dorm room or in a guy's dorm room and forced to have sex, remember, there is a person who is forcing her to have sex. Let's not look at the victim, but open up our eyes and realize that there are not only victims among us, but there are assailants among us, and some of us. Some of the men who are watching this video, let's talk about it. Some of the men who are watching this video have raped a person before. There were some people who I erased so many comments. And I got the comments on pending approval now on that last video because so much ignorance and foolishness was being attracted by people, or people were attracted to the video and writing ignorance and foolishness in the comments. It's not funny. Rape is not funny. You know, it's like, and then, you know, they say the hit dog hollers. So I got people coming out asking me whether or not I hate men, whether or not I'm a feminist. As a matter of fact, let's talk about feminism real quick before I get off the video. We all of us should be for the equal treatment of women. All of us. I mean, I don't understand how feminist became a dirty word. You know, where it's like, if you believe in the equal treatment, equal pay, and non-subjugation of women, all of a sudden you're a feminist. I talk to people about loving themselves. And I'm sorry, but I think that a person who is a rapist needs to take some time out and take a long, hard look at himself and why he's doing this. Especially, you know, especially vile are the men who violate children and young girls. You are a vile, putrid, disgusting part of society. I'm sorry. And the longer you leave yourself out there in population hurting people, you know what? Children are so innocent and they deserve a fighting chance. If you victimize children, both male and female, you know, and then before I get off this video, let me talk about the flip side. You want to talk about double standards? I knew a guy who was molested by his babysitter at 4 years old. And unfortunately, he's internalized this dysfunction. His babysitter was female. She forced this 4-year-old boy to perform oral sex on her big old hairy vagina. And I'm like, no. And you know what? Unfortunately, because of this double standard that we have in society, you know, people who victimize young boys, that sex is supposed to be some great prize or some great gift. Listen, if you're a grown woman, listen, I don't even need to go there. I'm going to make the whole statement for any adult that victimizes children. You are sick and you need to get yourself some help. You're sick. And I'm sorry to pass judgment like that, but you have a sickness. I'm sorry if I saw someone coughing on the train, I'd be like, you're sick. Something is not right. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if I can't say this in a much nicer way. Hold on. Let me come at this from a point of love. Okay. Let me calm down. If you victimize children, you have a sickness and you need to take care of that. Give the children a fighting chance. You're not doing anything for the betterment of their lives. You're stunting them in childhood because of whatever it is that you have going on in your adult mind about what it is that you think about them. Let the children have their innocence, please. Ladies, watch who you bring in your home. Men, watch who you bring in your home. I had a friend who had a 16-year-old daughter. One of his friends, one of his boys got kicked out, put out, or just came out of rehab. He moved the man into his house. But look who you have around your children. Pay close attention. So frustrating. You know what? And I hate. You think if you don't like watching angry videos, because you know what? I know that I have the ability to transmit, or whatever emotion. I know that. And this is why when I hug you, you feel it. But then also with the pain that exists in the world, I feel that too. When people write to me and they tell me about the things that they've gone through, I feel that. Sometimes I can't sleep at night from the stuff that I hear. There's a lot of pain in the world, believe me. And it's like, while we keep sweeping this under the rug and not paying attention, it continues and it perpetuates itself. And I want it to end. I'm sorry. I want it to end. I want children to grow up happy. I want people to have healthy relationships. I want people to love themselves. You know what? Speaking of which, I'm going to try to hold it together. My book, Lessons from a Motherless Child, 10 Most Crucial Secrets on Love, Sex, and Self-Esteem. I learned the hard way so that you won't have to. My very first volume is a 100-page volume on self-esteem and on self-love, self-esteem, and it has workbooks in there to work through some of your issues of the past, etc. So there's some of the people who are contacting me so that you can work some of your issues out, because whatever it is that happened to you in the past does not have to be, it's not defining of whatever is going to be for you in the future. And I know, honey, I know, I hear what's going on out there. You know, and I see, but I want us to open our eyes to rape and sexual assault in particular, because we not only know victims, we know assailants. If you see somebody, if you, male or female, if you see a person who is incapacitated, stumbling around, and you see somebody that she doesn't know is trying to take her home, step in. Step in and stop this, because you know what? It takes each one of us. It takes each one of us. If you're at your boy's house and you see that there is somebody who is incapacitated in some sort of way and somebody is getting ready to have intercourse with her or him, if you see that, stop it. Don't say, oh, this is an opportunity, let me get my zipper down too. No, no, no. We have the ability to stop it. This is not good for them. It's not good for you. It's not good for your karma. It's not good for the way the world goes round. And I'm doing this video because I want to appeal to somebody. I don't know. Listen, when I put it out there, I don't know who will watch it. I don't know who will see this video, but I pray that it gets into the hands of the right person, not only to stop child sexual assault inside your home, to stop a man from becoming an assailant or a perpetrator, a predator, to stop that, to open up the conversation so that we can start thinking, why is it that we feel this way? Listen, pass the video around if you feel like it, if you want the video to get into the hands of somebody, because we talked about a lot and I didn't have a script. There's no script. I just talk from my heart. So if there's anything in here that resonated with you or somebody that you might know, pass it around. I beg you. I do. I beg you. And the mailing list, my book is going to be out the beginning of this new year. Well, not the whole book. The book is being published in volumes. The first volume, and it's going to be an ebook, so you can get it delivered anywhere all over the country. The first one is on self-esteem, self-love, with workbooks in there to help you work through some issues. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I called you sick. If you have an issue, please take care of that. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad. I really want people to love themselves and love one another. And if you know that there are things that you are doing that are not loving to the world at large, that are not loving to those around you, not loving to yourself, because believe me, when you hurt somebody else, you're also hurting yourself. Trust me. If you knew how this world goes round, you're hurting yourself and you're continuing this perpetual cycle. You know, you rape a woman, you're always going to be plagued wondering who out there may be raping your daughter when you have one, or who may have raped your mother, who may have held her down and did that same exact thing to her. So if you don't want somebody doing that to a woman in your family, don't do that to somebody else's daughter. Every person on this earth came through someone's womb, which means we are all children of someone. Don't harm anybody else's child. Don't harm living creatures. Keep yourself, your psyche, your aura, and your spiritual surrounding free. Honey, let's hug. I'm going to get over the video because, oh, I love you. Oh, God. I love you guys. Listen, be strong. Be strong. Go out there and love one another, but most importantly, love yourself. All of the information is below the video. Just click the link that says show more. There are links to my Facebook page. I do most of my my interaction on Facebook, facebook.com/TonyaTko show. There's Twitter, there's Instagram, Pinterest. I'm all over the net. Down below, you'll see the links, and I also have my own website, TonyaTko.com. And that's Tonya with an O. That's right, Tonya. Be strong. I'm out. Peace.